Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. You know, it feels like everywhere you turn these days, somebody's talking about AI, VR, automation, all this amazing tech with the potential to, solve all our problems.
That's the hope, isn't it?
Yeah, but are we maybe getting a little ahead of ourselves? I mean, are we really ready for all this?
It's a good question to be asking, We always get excited about new technology, but we don't always think about the full picture.
Right. And that's kind of what this deep dive is all about, The article we're looking at this week, it talks about this idea that we might be repeating the mistakes of the past. Remember the Industrial Revolution?
Of course, yeah.
All those incredible inventions, but also a lot of, upheaval.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a period of massive technological advancement, but it also created a lot of social and economic problems, right? Think about the Luddites.
Oh, yeah, the guys smashing the machines.
Right. They were protesting against the way technology was being used to, displace workers and all that.
So you're saying we could see a new Luddite movement? People smashing robots?
Maybe not smashing robots, but there's definitely a growing concern about AI and automation, and it's a valid concern,
Yeah, for sure. The article mentions these algorithms, right?
Correct.
And how they're being used in ways that could be kind of discriminatory.
Oh, absolutely. We're already seeing examples of that, Facial recognition technology, for instance.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Studies have shown that some of these algorithms are biased against people of color, which means they can lead to wrongful arrests and, all sorts of problems.
It's kind of scary, right? We're letting these machines make decisions about people's lives, but we don't even fully understand how they work.
That's the thing, isn't it? And then there's the whole issue of AI in warfare, which is a whole other can of worms.
Autonomous weapons, like killer robots.
Yeah. It's not science fiction anymore, unfortunately.
Okay, so maybe AI isn't all sunshine and roses. What about VR? I always thought that had a lot of potential for good, like education, healthcare.
It does. But like any powerful tool, it has its downsides.
Like what?
Well, VR can be very immersive, right? Which is great for learning and training, but it also raises concerns about, addiction.
People getting lost in virtual worlds.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of content moderation.
Mm-hmm.
VR is still a pretty wild west out there, and we're seeing things like, virtual harassment, even virtual assault.
Wait, virtual assault? How's that even possible?
You might think it sounds strange, but in a virtual environment, you can experience touch, you can feel sensations, it can feel very real, and the psychological impact can be pretty devastating.
Wow, that's pretty disturbing. So it seems like with all this amazing tech, there's always this dark side lurking just beneath the surface.
It's a bit of a tightrope walk, isn't it?
So how do we make sure we're using this stuff for good?
Well, I think the first step is awareness, right? We need to have these conversations. We need to talk about the risks, the potential downsides.
And we don't just blindly rush into the future, right?
Exactly. We need to be proactive. We need to set some ground rules,
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure these technologies are serving humanity, not just, corporate interests.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the values behind it. It's about asking ourselves, what kind of future do we actually want to create?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. And it's a question that we're going to keep exploring in the next part of our deep dive. We've talked a lot about the potential pitfalls of AI and VR, but there's another side to this story, right? The article also talks about all the amazing things these technologies could achieve if we use them wisely. So stick around. We'll be right back.
It's easy to get, kind of doom and gloom about all this new tech, but it's not all bad, right?
Right. We spent a lot of time on the potential downsides.
Yeah.
But what about the flip side? What about all the good stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing about technology, right? It's not inherently good or bad. It's just a tool. And like any tool, it depends on, how we use it.
So let's talk about how we can use it for good.
Yeah.
The article mentions some pretty amazing possibilities in healthcare and education, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just imagine, a world where AI can help doctors diagnose diseases way faster and more accurately than they can now.
And even develop new treatments, cures for diseases we can't cure now.
Exactly. And VR, I mean, think about the potential for training surgeons, creating these incredibly realistic simulations so they can practice complex procedures without any risk to real patients.
That's amazing. But are we actually close to any of this? Or is this all just, futuristic fantasy stuff?
Oh, no, we're already seeing some of this stuff happening. Like, AI is already being used for early disease detection, even drug discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and VR is being used to treat, like, PTSD and phobias,
Yeah.
helping people confront their fears in a safe, controlled environment.
That's incredible. So it's not just like hypothetical potential. It's actually making a difference in people's lives right now.
Right, and that's just the beginning. I mean, think about education, VR could create these amazing immersive classrooms where students can, like, travel through time, explore the human body from the inside.
Wow, instead of just looking at a diagram in a textbook, you could actually, like, walk around inside a cell.
Exactly. And AI could be used to personalize education, adapt to each student's individual learning style and all that.
Yeah, so every student has access to, like, a personal tutor.
Right. It would be a game changer, especially for students who, maybe don't thrive in traditional classrooms.
I love that idea. Okay, so healthcare, education, what else?
Well, there's also the potential for these technologies to help us connect with each other, build empathy. Well, VR can create these incredibly realistic simulations of other cultures, other environments, so you can experience what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes, literally.
Like those VR experiences where you can, I don't know, experience what it's like to be homeless or a refugee.
Yeah. It's a powerful way to, like, break down barriers and foster understanding.
Yeah, and AI can translate languages in real time so people from different countries can actually, like, have a real conversation.
Exactly. So we're not just talking about, technological advancements. We're talking about human advancements,
So it's about more than just, like, making things faster and more efficient. It's about making us better humans.
Right. And that's, I think, what makes these technologies so exciting. They have the potential to improve our lives in all these different ways, like, not just on a practical level, but on a human level,
Okay, so I'm starting to feel a little more optimistic. We talked about the dangers, but now we've seen the potential, the good stuff. So, like, how do we make sure that's the path we take? How do we ensure that we're using these technologies for good?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, right? Being aware of the potential downsides, but also being aware of the incredible opportunities. We need to, have these conversations, think about the kind of future we want to build.
So it's about being informed, being engaged, being proactive.
Exactly. And it's also about remembering that the future isn't, predetermined. We have a say in it. Like, every decision we make, the companies we support, the technologies we invest in, it all shapes the world we live in.
So we all have a role to play, whether we're like tech experts or just everyday people trying to figure out this crazy world.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the question of what those roles might look like, What are some concrete steps we can take as individuals to shape this future?
That's a great question, and one we'll be diving into in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we're back, and we've talked about the good, the bad, the ugly, but now let's get down to brass tacks, What can we actually do about all this?
Right. The good news is you don't have to be like some kind of tech wizard to make a difference.
Yeah, like I'm not coding AI in my basement or anything. So what can regular people like me actually do?
Well, first off, just be mindful, Like, when you're using technology, think about the companies behind it.
Okay, so, like, do they have good values? Are they using my data responsibly? That kind of thing.
Exactly. Vote with your wallet, Support companies that are doing things the right way.
Makes sense. What else?
And just talk about it. Seriously, have conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers. The more we talk about these issues, the more we raise awareness.
Okay, yeah, get people thinking about it. So it's not just like a tech industry problem, it's a societal problem.
Yeah. Exactly. And, don't underestimate the power of collective action, right? Like, support organizations that are working on ethical AI.
Oh, so like groups that are trying to make sure AI is used for good.
Right. Or, advocate for policies that ensure everyone benefits from automation, not just a select few.
Like I've heard people talking about universal basic income, that kind of thing.
Exactly. There are a lot of really interesting ideas out there. Get involved in your community, volunteer, donate to causes you care about. Even small actions can add up.
This is actually making me feel kind of hopeful. Like, it's not just about being scared of the technology. It's about taking control, shaping it for the better.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding the negative. It's also about pushing for the positive,
Oh, right. Like advocating for more VR in education or using AI to help fight climate change, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We need to keep those possibilities in mind, too. Don't let the fear overshadow the hope,
Right. So it's about being, like, both critical and optimistic. challenging the bad stuff, but also promoting the good.
That's a great way to put it. And, I think the most important thing to remember is that this is an ongoing conversation, right? Technology is always changing, so our understanding of it needs to change too.
So we need to stay informed, stay curious.
Exactly. The future of AI and VR is not set in stone, We get to write it.
That's a really powerful thought. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. You've given us a lot to think about and a lot to do. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. And remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create. So let's go out there and create a future where technology makes us better, stronger, more connected. A future that benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us and keep those conversations going. Until next time, dive deep.